The survivor is Leon Zylberman. My name is Effie Meyerfeld. We are in Vineland, New Jersey, United States of America, and the language of the interview is English. Today is June 10th, 1998. The survivor is Leon Zylberman. My name is Effie Meyerfeld. We are in Vineland, New Jersey, United States of America. The language of the interview is English. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Leon Zylberman. The spelling is Z-Y-L-B-E-R-M-A-N.
Was that the same name you had at birth?
The same name in the book, yeah. My same name.
What was your Hebrew name?
Hebrew name was Aryeh Ben Fishel. Aryeh Ben Fishel.
Did you have a middle name also?
Well, there was a middle name, but I never used it. Benjamin. Benjamin. Aryeh Benjamin, but I never used it.
But your family called you a nickname.
No. Liberal. Leon was small, like in a nicer way, very like usually the mothers always say, they put an extra one in.
When were you born?
I was born on July 15, 1917.
How old are you today?
I was over 80. July I'll be 81.
What was the name of the town you were born?
The name I was born was Radom, R-A-D-O-M.
And did your family live there for a long time?
Well, my family lived there for a long time because doing it right after the First War, they were living in Warsaw, but the time was so bad in Warsaw they had to close up and go down to Radom, because my uncle was living in Radom and their condition was much better for food. The food that time it was impossible to get, so they moved down to Radom. It was supposed to be temporary, and they lived 18 years over there.
And where did the family move from Radom?
From Radom they moved back to Warsaw. Back to Warsaw where they came from.
And what was the name of the neighborhood that you lived in Radom?
The neighborhood, the name Radom was the same street as Twarda, where the ghetto was started at that time.
Did you ever live in a smaller little city?
No.
What were your mother's parents' names?
Her maiden name was Zylberman, Z-Y-L-B-E-R-I-N-G.
And what were your grandparents' first names?
I'll tell you something, I don't remember exactly. I knew him only for a short time. When he was younger, he was a shepherd. And of course, after a while, he lost his teeth. He couldn't keep the challah in his mouth, so he had to give it up. This all I remember. I only saw him twice when I was a young baby. And that was the end.
When a person is a shochet and they slaughter animals, they have to be able to...
Yeah, he has to keep the challah in the mouth.
They have to be able to keep the knife
in the challah,
in their mouth. And do you remember what your mother's name was?
No.
And what country did they come from?
They came from, most likely from Russia, back in the pogrom times.
And what was your mother's name?
My mother's name was Sima Shifra. Sima Shifra.
And where was she born?
And she was born in the 1860 or 1870, something. I don't remember exactly.
And what was the city that she was born?
She was in Warsaw.
And what about her family, her brothers and sisters?
Well, she had a sister, and she's a brother. The brother, I remember him very well, his name. He had a family in Warsaw. He was making something for the shoes, not the shoe, the sword, but the apple. And yes, I remember we used to go once in a while by train to him to visit him from Radom.
And what was his name?
I know him so well, but I can't pinpoint the name right now. Anyway, I don't remember. I will come back later on if I'll be able to make it here.
Did your mother have a good education?
My mother had not too much in the Polish education, but in Hebrew, she was very, very much advanced, very much advanced. She wasn't at the Saturday that she wouldn't have this, the Tanakh or the other one going through with my father, with other friends. They were very much ahead. And I used to remember years ago when they were talking to me, I was listening, I was very much anxious to find out. A lot of times she was arguing with some of, not debating with the other ones, and she was always right, and she was trying to convince them. She was very much associated with the Mojeser rabbi's wife. She used to come to our home that time. And he was a very good friend. She was very much ahead in Hebrew.
How far was the city of Mozhitz from where you lived?
Where
the Mozhitzer Rebbe was. How far was that from where you lived?
I lived from Warsaw
to Mozhitz. To the Mozhitzer Rebbe.
To the Mozhitzer Rebbe. There was a small... She was living in Warsaw that time, but the Mozhitzer Rebbe used to go out for the holidays to like a countryside. Otrotsk was a country, mainly for people who have trouble with asthma and all different kinds of things, lungs. And every holiday, the high holidays, there wasn't one we will miss it. My father was very much inclined. The Zmiris, the songs that the Mozhits that made that time is still in mind. I still remember them all of them. And there was all like marches with pep, with life. And there was thousands of people that stay outside. They couldn't fit in the synagogue, outside there. Gentiles, they loved the songs, just like the chorus. It was, I'll never forget it.
Do you remember any of the tunes? Anything that you sing to yourself?
I remember a lot of the tunes.
Was there anything you'd like to sing now?
No, I'm not going to sing now. They were beautiful songs.
And the name of that city, can you spell that resort area?
That was a countryside of Warsaw. From Warsaw they used to go out to the country there. It's called Otrotsk. O-T-W-O-C-K, Otrotsk. A country which mostly, a lot of rich Jews came out there. Even not during the holiday, it was a cure. There used to be sometimes, I remember they come out with special water from the healthy water, like salty water from the ground. It was a nice city. But it only was a short time there. So when the war broke out, you know what happened.
Tell me about your father's parents.
My father's parents?
What were their names?
My father's parents, I don't remember. They were living they were born in a different place, a smaller town. Just that I remember it so good. Now it's coming. And there were 4 brothers. My father was not the oldest was in Warsaw, and one brother was living in Radom, which took my family in to come from Warsaw to Radom.
What was his first name?
His first name, Shmiel Zylberman. Wonderful, wonderful man.
And do you remember the names of the other 2 brothers?
Nielsen was one, and Meyer was the oldest. He was living in Warsaw. He was the most advanced.
What business was he in?
Also watch repair. He was as fine, the best watchmaker that I ever saw. He was living in Warsaw, right near the bridge which is going to the Weiss, it's called the river. It was Weissel, right near the bridge, the most expensive location. And I don't remember too many pleasure things. His wife was a little tougher. When we were children, used to come down there. She had a piano that time, I never forget it. And one of my sisters tried to do something. She was so afraid, don't touch them. Anyway.
Was your grandfather a watchmaker also? Your father's father?
My father's father, yes, but only I never knew him.
Was he a watchmaker by trade?
Clockmaker, watchmaker. All the whole profession was in our family. All of us.
Do you remember their names, the grandparents?
No. No, I don't remember.
Do you know how your parents met?
Well, at that time, mostly they was shot from, the matchmakers. My mother was that time in Warsaw. She was very active as a young girl. She was started to work for one big company which was importing from Russia all the furs. And she was in the fur business. She made a lot of, well, at that time, it was considered a lot of money. After she saved up for the, how do you say it in English? For the nothing.
For the trousseau.
Yeah. Because my father at that time fell in love with her and they got married. And they were always a happy family. Happy, always happy. And when I started to get busy, my father started to produce children. You know, that was part of life and part of pleasure.
Did your mother have a job outside the house? Did she work after she was married? Outside the house?
After she married, she never had a job out of the house. She was at one that I remember, after we were living in Radom, the time got very, very tough. It was hard to keep up making a living. And she remembered the time, you always calling her from the factory. If every time you want to come back, you were welcome. One time he made a trip, I remember me and my mother to Warsaw from Radom. And after she got the factory, she changed her mind. No, I'll stay with my family. And she went down to visit that time the brother, which lived over there, I told you, Garrison. And she went right back home. And she stood home all the time till the end. Never left away. Always busy, tried to help out, do everything herself. Had time to go, had made the time to go to the hospital and become a nurse, help out all the time. How she managed that time, do all that self, cooking, fresh, nothing, bake the challah, bake the cake for holidays, for Pesach. Everything had to be stropped and fished. I don't forget that how she managed to make it here, had time to go to the hospital. She had become, that time, I remember from the hospital, a award, a silver cup. I don't forget it, beautifully inscribed to Zylberman for her wonderful work for the...
And everything she did was as a volunteer?
A volunteer, not for money, volunteer, always nothing for money.
Did she do other things in the community to help people?
Well, she helped people because it was a synagogue. It was not a synagogue that time, they had them. It was like a shtibel, you know, like in a home. We used to have everything for Shabbos, like holiday makes it. Always involved in the community.
Tell me about your siblings, starting with the oldest one. Who was the oldest in the family?
In my family? The oldest was my sister, Cecil. The picture's right down there, which my brother found it after the war. He went down to the city that time. He didn't know the problem that he was facing when he came out. He expected to get somebody from family. But he found out that nobody was sighted. They told him already, it's no use looking. So he went down to the city hall, tried to find some kind of a clue of anything. He found that picture of my sister. Because when she got married, she had to make a picture of the city hall. And that picture he took out, they wouldn't try to give it to him. He was just fighting with them. That's the picture that I got left. Only one picture left. And she was wonderful.
When was Zysel born?
She was born.
What year?
My sister was born in 1915, 2 years older than me.
And who did she marry? What was the name of her husband?
She was married, which I hate to talk about it. It was just, not that she wanted, not that she was happy. She was just at that time, you know, a girl that time in Poland before the war. When she got above 19, 20, it's an old maid already. Terrible. So she went that time to the Lake of Warsaw. And she was also working for the same company. And
the one that made
and
furs?
she went down to a wedding.
Did she work for the company that made furs?
No, a different company, but which another uncle of mine was in the tailor business. And she went down for a wedding down to a friend of her, a neighbor, a good neighbor. And at that time she met that husband of hers.
What was his name?
His name? Zylberman.
And after Zysel came?
After well, we were against it, but the family was pressing. My father and my mother was, look, he was so well, and most of them were anxious to get him. Most of them, but they were really jealous, but she came from Warsaw, she came down to Rodham. All of a sudden, she looked, a stranger comes in, she got him. But he was no bargain.
Okay,
no
after
bargain.
Zysel...
I didn't like him.
After Zysel in the family, who came next?
After Zysel, I came.
And after you?
After me came my brother, which is wife. He was in North Jersey.
And his name?
And then came another...
What was his name?
Jacob. Jacob. Jacob, they call me Jacob.
And Jacob was born in what year?
He was born in 1919.
And after
October.
Jacob came next?
After Jacob came Maya. Maya was born 2 years later. We were, our thing was just every born 2 years apart, 2 years apart.
So Meyer was born in
21.
And after Meyer
and
came?
After Meyer came, Moshe was born in 23. And then after Moshe came Malcolm. She was born in 25. And then it was Feigl, 27. Then, of course, it was Dovital, 29. Then it was and then was Esther. Excuse me. He was born 31. Esther was born 31. Was born at the same time. When my sister also had a baby, same time with my mother. They both was pregnant at the same time. And then, of course, started the war. Not no, in the year 31, 33, until 39. War started. And my uncle, which was living in Warsaw, his wife was taken away. He was left with a girl which was about the same age like my sister, Malcolm. So we got down there and picked her up, and she wasn't our family together. And
what kind of things did you do with your brothers and sisters? Did you have fun together?
Well, the fun, the only pleasure fun that we have was Friday night. Friday night, when Father came back from the Stiebel, and the woman with the singing song, and we all was at the table. It was a big table, we were about all around singing Zmiris songs. A lot of them were living in a Polish building. The Polish used outside, always having, watching, listening to the songs with Zmiris that we were singing. They were anti-Semites, but they liked it to hear them. And this was the only pleasure. My mother used to make her own fish. Used to get carp, and used to make the carp herself. It was a tough thing for her just to try to make a live carp and to kill it. She was always in a bad mood, and after that the fish. And of course, the chicken, something the tune, I used to carry the tune to the bakery. They used to put it in Friday night, and Saturday pick it up. It was the biggest pleasures in our life that time. And
how big an apartment house was it? How many families lived there?
Well, in the house that time we were living, there was about 4 Jewish families. And I remember when it comes to sukkahs, I used to be the pleasure for me to do the sukkah. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun that time.
Did the other people in the apartment house also eat in your sukkah?
Oh yeah, we had a sukkah, we built outside, we don't have a sukkah in the house.
No, I mean everybody together came
Most
from the
together,
apartment house?
sure, and every woman was trying to show off the better food, the nicer food. It was the best time. When I was young. And this was going on until not where it started before, 1937. The anti-Semitism started to get tougher and tougher, because Hitler was prepared himself how to get the Polacks, because he knew the Polacks were always the roughest anti-Semites. And they started to get different kind of laws. There was that time the Schriete law. Mrs. Prister, she started to kill the cows. The ritual is not good. No, to kill them with the hammer, that was good. And they were trying to make. Then it started up the boycott. Came from the top, from the president, and don't have to kill, don't have to fight with the Jews. They just boycott, don't go. And with open size placard in Polish, nie kupuj Żyda, don't buy by a Jew, don't buy by a Jew. It was getting voiced every time. My father was the watchmaker, because some of them, they had to come to him, and it was very hard to make a living. I remember when I started that time, I was 12. I saw the way it was. Going to school, going to the public school was also an agony. There's not like here, a bus picture you had to walk. First of all, being at that time, there was no gas stoves, no electric stove. They had to make their own fire in the stove, and sometimes the smoke was so much, because they had to blow it in, and they had to get to the school, not by bus. They had to walk about almost a half a mile just to get to the school, to make on time.
What kind of religious education did you have?
Well, I was going to the Cheder.
Do you remember the name of your Rebbe?
I remember the Shleiman was a wonderful teacher in Hebrew. A Yiddish, it's all the stories, all the things from Hanukkah, from Purim, from all the things. He was so, and of course his daughters, they were beautiful daughters. She was teaching us in Polish. I remember them all.
Do you remember your bar mitzvah?
What?
Your bar mitzvah.
My bar mitzvah? It wasn't a bar mitzvah like here. But down to the synagogue, and all the members, that my mother used to give them candy. I had to say the Brucha, and after that, it was to tell them partially of the Haftorah, and that was it. It was a ritual thing. My mother prepared everything. She didn't sit and bake that time of Challis, and how she made it, everything. I remember the time when it was, we only had not too much room in the store. From the showcases, we more like the serving. And it was nice. It was nice. Nothing like now. Now I do a mitzvah, not about mitzvah. It's a party, dancing. Is it about mitzvah? It's just like my grandson. They don't even remember nothing, but I spent to go to the school, Hebrew school. I spent a fortune teaching them, so it's a waste of every penny.
Describe
It's not the way that time, but I remember. The same thing with my brother, the same thing. And it's,
Describe how big your house was, where you lived. How big an apartment did you have?
so we lived that time in Warsaw. There was a store in the front. There was three rooms. We all had to be in one bed, two at a time, not less than two, sometimes even three. And we were happy. We were happy together.
And how big?
Not what we have here. Here, look, I got here a house here. 4 bedrooms, 4 beds, 4 this, no happiness. Now that's different. The time has changed. The whole world has changed.
When you lived in Rodham, how big was your house?
You know, at that time we didn't have, not all the children was small babies. We only had about also 3 rooms. I remember one time we had, I'll never forget it. My mother had one room, the kitchen wasn't the way she liked it here. And my father did anything just to try to make her happy, and took a different room, and we changed from the different room. My mother was miserable that time. Finally, we had to change back to the one, like the story with the with the Rabbi, with the goat. You want to be happy? Take a goat in your house. The goat was in the house, you know, the story. Anyway, that time was miserable. Then back to the Rabbi, Rabbi, just need more than voice. Take out the goat. Take out the goat. Then they were happy. Before you do, if you do something, it doesn't work out, go back to the old one, then you're happy.
Was the shop connected to the apartment also in Rodham?
All of them together. My mother was together in the shop, always together. It wasn't enough money to be able to pay for the things. It was hard. And in fact, in the house, when we lived in Warsaw, I also remember, we was renting the house. That time was the Biedermans, also the rich. That time was the rich ones that time.
Was that the name of...
My father didn't never chance to pay the rent in time. I never forget it. And he came out to the Biederman, told him, look, I haven't got enough money. And don't worry. My father didn't know about the law. After it went by another month, they made an eviction for my father. I never forget it. I was so bitter. My father came out, wait a second, what did you talk about? You told me don't have to worry about it. You know, you make me an eviction. You know what he said? It's good to have a whip in my hand. He wanted to have somebody with a whip. That was the Hasidim. That was the top Rabbi Biederman with the rabbi from the Gera rabbis, Mishpur. I told you about him already. I have gone up and see what's going on between all the high religious, but to me just hypocrites. The preaching that time. What did you have on? My father didn't have about almost 9 children that time.
Okay, this is...
When I started to work, when I was 12, started to pull out, started to make money.
All right, this is the end. This is the end of tape 1.